Hello, this is Christy Carter of Global Positive News Network, and I have the privilege of introducing to you Michael Dippy. He is the Executive Director of iDignity.org. iDignity.org provides assistance in obtaining Florida ID cards and licenses, birth certificates, social security cards, replacement citizenship, or immigration records and other documents needed to obtain an ID or license for no charge. The documents iDignity obtains for its clients give them the freedom to apply for work or school, gain access to shelters, seek help from social service programs, open a bank account or cash a check, secure permanent housing, or overcome many other obstacles for being self-sufficient. So, Michael, this is a fantastic organization. I just love what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
It's wonderful. So why did you start this nonprofit foundation?
Well, there was 20 of us that started it. We were all kind of brought together by chance or by God, depending on what you believe. And we all had realized that there was an issue in our community that wasn't being addressed. Churches tend to be a very good bellwether for unmet needs in our society. And churches can be good at directing people of where to get food or where to get shelter or where to get health care or all those things. There's more and more individuals that were appearing needing help to get their ID so they could access those things. And these churches were not able to find a viable solution in our community, through meeting with the government agencies, meeting with other social service providers. And so we decided that we would get together and put together a model to address this. And understand back then, even through 6 months of trying to figure out how to put together a feasible model, a successful model, and with working with the government agencies and social service providers, we estimate there's probably going to be about 200, 250 people to serve.
Wow.
I've never had a problem getting any of my identification. I've never known anybody that had a problem with identification documents. Never realized it could even be an issue. Until I met a homeless man at my church that told me, yeah, this is a real issue. I can't do anything without it.
Wow. And
I tried to find a resource for him and couldn't. And that's why we kind of banded together and came up with a viable model that really directly collaborates with the government agencies. And I think that's the beauty of it, is it's the perfect private-public partnership. Led by volunteers, but you have to have that government engagement. Are at the end of the day legal government documents. And we also realize that part of the issue is legal representation. If you don't have your identification documents, you really have no validity to who you are. And so at that point, you need to have an advocate to come alongside you and represent you. And it really helps if that advocate has a bar card. They can do magical things with bar cards that normal humans can't do. And typically it's going to mean that we're going to have to do a lot of research to prove that you are who you say you are. And that can be through school records or medical records or military records or any number of documents, census data, baptismal records, whatever, to really prove a case that this is who this person says they are, and then start working on the kind of the application process to obtain birth certificates, social security cards.
Wow, that's wonderful. So you're kind of like a liaison between the government and people who have lost their ID for whatever reason, sort of.
Yeah, it's because they really can't do it on their own. And understand that the population that iDignity was designed to serve, half of them are homeless. A good amount of them are suffering from mental or physical disabilities. That makes this process that's kind of hard for you and me can be literally just impossible. And then you got the issue of there's bad documents out there. There's birth certificates that say baby girl or baby boy or have a different name than you've used your entire life because your mom didn't really like your dad. And so as you're out of the hospital, every other record has your mom's name on it.
Wow.
And with good intent, but those documents have to be amended or changed, or there's, we've had health departments that have flooded or have had fires and those documents no longer exist. So you've got to be able to recreate those. And the real crutch is access to identification has to be extremely difficult
Yeah.
in order to protect the validity of the documents that they represent. And
Mm-hmm.
so we can't make the barriers lower,
Mm-hmm.
or else
Mm-hmm.
you're opening yourself up to identity theft, identity fraud, and all kinds of bad things that can come with that. So we
Mm-hmm.
got to maintain access to identification as being extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with that, there's going to be a certain segment of our population that certainly cannot navigate that process on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what iDignity does. We come along that segment of the population.
Wow, that's awesome. And you
Thanks.
started in 2008, is that correct?
We did. We started researching in 2007, opened our doors May of 2008.
Uh-huh. And you have 4 locations, is that correct as well?
Yeah, we have the primary location is in Orange County, Orlando, Florida, downtown. And then we quickly drew some national media attention and started getting contacts from across the country. And that kind of shifted the mission of iDignity
Mm-hmm.
to looking at how we've come up with a clever solution to a fairly entrenched social ill.
Mm-hmm.
How can we share this blessing with other communities crying out for help?
Mm-hmm.
So we shifted 3 months into our operation of going, okay, we're going to try to replicate this thing. And we were all volunteer based for the first year and a half. We had no staff.
Wow.
But we also knew that we were motivated to try to share. And so we started replicating soon after we opened our doors. And so we do have kind of affiliates. They're self-sustaining. They raise their own money. They get their own volunteers. We kind of guide them through the process. And those are just in Central Florida and the surrounding counties right now.
Mm-hmm. That's fabulous. So I was going to just ask you, what do you wish to accomplish? But you're pretty much explaining what you're accomplishing, and I'm sure you have some really good stories. Can you give us maybe a story of something that you've helped get an ID and what they've done with it?
I mean, one of my favorites is one of my first clients, one of iDignity's first clients, and he's been serving on our board ever since. And he's about my age. He reminds me a lot of my friends. Really nice guy, but found himself on the streets. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
But once he got his identification back, once he got his feet back underneath him, he's now dedicated his life to serving the poor as an outreach person for the city of Orlando. And he every day goes through downtown Orlando and greets anyone that appears to be homeless and says, how can I help? And so he's a conduit from anyone on the streets to all the social services that are available. Mm-hmm. And just an amazing guy. To be in that environment, it just has to crush your heart day after day after day, because there is a lot of suffering that's going on, and there's never enough resources.
Well, that's super inspiring. That's neat to see somebody go out there and really help people like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes a certain, courage and strength of spirit and compassion. That is just wonderful.
He has all that.
That's fabulous. So what impact have you made in the last 6 months in your community?
I mean, every year we serve about 2,500 unique individuals here in Orlando, and 1,000 or so more in the surrounding counties. And that's our core mission. And we're very, very deliberate in maintaining a narrow scope of what we do. Be expert in the space that we're in, because once again, there wasn't another opportunity in this community for someone else to do that assistance. And so by iDignity focusing on this core mission, we're able to assist all these other social service agencies and government agencies to focus on their core mission more effectively, more efficiently. So that's, but we do have one thing that that I would consider scope creep that I'm proud of, and it wasn't my idea. It's a national model. But something that we've really embraced over the last 7-8 years, and that's the homeless memorial service.
Oh, wonderful!
And so we've really gravitated around that. And the interesting story behind that is, before we even founded iDignity, this event was held. It wasn't very well attended, but it was held. And I remember going and being really brokenhearted that there were so many people that were being recognized as John Doe and Jane Doe. We didn't even have the ability to mention their name when we lit the candle. And that's why iDignity got heavily involved, because it does resonate with the part of finding people's names. And in the last, I believe, 5 years, we haven't had a single John or Jane Doe.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's a neat thing, and the attendance has skyrocketed. We have to move to bigger churches now to hold everyone that wants to come, and it's during the trying side of the Christmas season when everyone's overly stressed and thinking about shopping and gifts and parties, and then to have this kind of take priority over all that. It's really a neat thing that iDignity does. Wasn't our idea. It is a national model, but it's one of those things that I have a lot of gratitude towards.
Oh, no kidding. Well said. Gratitude is everything.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's fabulous. I wish that we had something like this in every single community. This is so necessary, I mean, that's kind of overwhelming. You're the first company that I've heard, our foundation that I've heard, who does this type of thing.
And just to be clear, we're not a foundation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit.
Okay.
There are a few other programs in the nation, but you're right. There's not nearly enough. But we're working on it. We're building all the infrastructure we can for large scale replication. I can't even tell you how many hundreds of thousands of dollars we've been investing in building that infrastructure for large scale replication, not just in the physical sense of everything we do here in Orlando and put it in the other 80 cities that are bigger than us, but also the digital side of it. How do you reach the smaller rural communities that would never be able to support iDignity?
Yeah.
But it is a tough social enterprise to be in, because you are dealing with legal identification documents and you are working with the government agencies, and there's a lot of trust involved. And it's just really, really hard. We have 1,000 open legal cases at any one time that we're navigating just here in Orlando. But we will move forward doing everything we can to serve the rest of America. This isn't a unique problem to Orlando. Our vision is to ensure that all U.S. citizens have access to their identification documents. But the most important part of the second part is while maintaining the integrity of identification.
Yes, exactly.
The core mission has to be to protect the integrity of identification at all costs, or ultimately what we're doing is a disservice to our society.
Right.
So we take that very seriously.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's a problem that much like Orlando, a lot of communities don't recognize it because these individuals, they consider themselves ghosts. In their own communities, they can't do anything. They go right through opportunity. They can't touch anything without their identification. And so I think that's why we so grossly underestimated the population here in Orlando, because we've served 22,000 now. We initially estimated about 2,500.
Oh my God. Wow.
It's I just think that these people just aren't registering on anyone's scales until there's an opportunity for them to prove who they are. And I think it's really important also to understand, because I can understand the optics that a lot of people have when they hear about individuals not having their identification. They think that, oh, these are the undocumented that we hear about that have snuck into our country or overstayed their green card. No, not at all. None of the clients that iDignity serves are that. They're all U.S. citizens or naturalized citizens, or someone who's lost their valid green card or their valid visa. These are just like your neighbors, just like your family, and they're powerless to do anything in society until they get over this hurdle.
Wow, what an incredible thing you're doing for our world. I mean, really, this is. I mean, you're kind of like the lead here of this new nonprofit, helping people get back their identity, their dignity. I mean, I love your name, iDignity. That puts it all together. It's perfect. It's so well said. And I just hats off to you guys. It's just incredible what you're doing. Wow.
Thanks. I give all the credit to God, but I also give a lot of credit to the people that donate their hard-earned money to support this cause. They're the true heroes here. It's not those of us that do the work. It's those that fund and allow us to do this work. We simply could not do it without their support. And on the downside, they don't get the gratitude that we get to.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if you've ever seen someone get down on their knees and weep over a birth certificate.
Oh, wow.
And see you out in public and praise you about how their life has changed. But yet these individuals continue to support us, and it's an expensive mission. That's the other hard part, because this is often legal, and legal requires attorneys in court, and it ain't cheap.
Yeah, and it gets really messy and really tangled up with all this stuff going on. Yeah. It's really sensitive. Wow, it's just incredible. So, Michael, what positive news do you want to share with our Global Positive audience right now?
We're in a very, very challenging, scary time as a society right now. There's so many unknowns. This is all new. This is really a time for us all to pull together. I think the beautiful thing is we have a common enemy now. It's coronavirus. And we can all do something. We can all help somebody, or we can all do the uncomfortable part of having to stay isolated away from other people so you don't get them sick. Just focus on that we can all be doing something, even though we're all also scared, we're all also suffering. You can do something for someone that's in greater need than you. And it's amazing what traction you can get once you start down that road, but you got to start. Start doing a little something. I think that's the good news. I think there's going to be wonderful things that come out of this trial and tribulation that we're going through that wouldn't otherwise have happened without it. I wish this was not happening,
of course.
But it is, and that gives us opportunities for growth that otherwise would not have happened.
And I agree, where one door closes, another one opens. I mean, as painful as this time might be, there is going to be something, it kind of reminds me of 9/11 when, it was just a horrible, tragic thing that happened at 9/11, but people pulled together. And now the communities in New York and around the world, are at least around the United States, are really a lot more tight. And we just have a little bit better knit together, if you will.
Right.
And I think that hopefully this will have a good outcome as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Michael, I want to thank you so much for this interview. It's been extremely valuable, very educational. It's awesome.
My pleasure.
It's just, again, I just bless your heart for you guys doing what you're doing. You're helping so many people, and I just love that. Oh, so I want to urge
Go ahead.
I'd like to urge our viewers at Global Positive News Network to go to the website at iDignity.org and take a look around. Get educated about obtaining an ID if you or someone else has lost theirs. You can also volunteer, donate, and become part of the family at iDignity, helping others restore their identity. Again, Michael, thank you so much for this interview and your time, and bless your heart and bless your family and bless your organization. It's just fabulous.
Blessings to you as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.